Hello, everyone. So, on behalf of the Leo Club of Colonel, I would like to welcome you all to our lecture session based on sustainable energy. First, I would like to go through some ground rules. First, and mainly, all of you should turn off your microphones during the lecture session because we do not want any interferences for the lecture. So, we hope you all will be professional about it. And the lecture session will last for about 30 minutes. And then it will be followed by a question and answer session of about 10 to 15 minutes. In the question session, you guys can ask any questions regarding the lecture through your microphones, or you can submit the questions to the group chat, which will then be forwarded to Sir by one of our Leo members. And now I would like to give a small introduction about our lecturer today. He is Lion Geethal Sirivardhana. Mr. Geethal is a member of the Lions Club of Negombo Host, and currently he is a lecturer for mechanical engineering at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Mr. Geethal has done his bachelor's degree on mechanical and manufacturing engineering at the University of Ruhuna, and currently is reading his master's degree at the University of Moratua. He has also worked as a in many companies before, and now I will give the proceedings to Mr. Geetal. And finally, a final reminder, guys, again, mute your microphones during the lecture session. So you may start the lecture now.
Okay, thank you, Devi. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to give my sincere gratitude to Leo Club of Kalanavar for inviting me to this event. So I don't need to give any introduction about myself because Devin already gave a prompt introduction about myself. So then I will go straight forward to the lecture. So what we are going to talk about. So today we are going to talk about the sustainable energy usage for a better country. And we are going to see how we can engage with this matter and how we can avoid the energy crisis. I hope you can hear me. Can anyone confirm whether you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
What about my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Right, perfect. So if I talk about the outline of the presentation, so within this 30 minutes of time, I would like to draw your attention to these topics. What is energy? What is energy crisis? Then we are going to talk about the Sri Lankan context. And under that, we are going to talk about the population distribution, energy crisis in Sri Lanka, crude oil consumption, coal consumption, and how we are going to generate electricity within the country. And what about our environment right now, and the usage of renewable energies. Afterwards, we are going to talk about why we need to save trees, as well as how we can engage to save Sri Lanka and save the world as persons, as human beings. So first of all, I will give a brief introduction about what is energy. So if I go with the definition, the scientists have defined energy as the ability to do work. The modern civilizations is possible because people have learned how to change energy from one form to another and then use it to do work. People use energy to walk, ride bicycle, to move cars along with roads, and boat through waters. Even to cook food on stoves and to make ice from freezers, to light our homes and offices, and to manufacture products, and to send astronauts to space. Even for more things, we are using energy. So when we talk about energy, there are many different forms of energy, including heat, light, motion, electricity, chemical energy, gravitational energy, which is also known as the potential energy. So energy can be converted from one form to another, so which is also known as the conservation of energy. For an example, a person eats food which is contain chemical energy, and that person's body stores its energy until she or he uses it as kinetic energy during work or play. For another example, the stored chemical energy in coal or natural gas and kinetic energy of water flowing in rivers can be converted into electricity or electrical energy, which can be converted into light, heat, motion, anything. So these energy sources can be categorized as renewable energies and non-renewable energies. So what are these renewable energies and non-renewable energies, and what's their role when it comes to the energy world? First, I will tell you about the renewable energies. So the renewable energy source means that can be easily replenished with the time, or it can be renewed with the time very easily. So when it comes to the non-renewable energy, those are the energy sources that cannot be easily renewable. So the renewable energy and non-renewable energy both can be used as energy sources and can be used as primary energy to produce useful energy such as heat. Then it can be converted into secondary energy sources such as electricity, even hydrogen. So now we will talk about what is an energy crisis. So an energy crisis is any significant bottleneck in the supply of energy resource to an economy. The most energy crises have been caused by localized shortages, wars, and market manipulation. So the market failure is a possible when monopoly manipulation of market occurs. A crisis can develop due to industrial actions like trade union actions or government taxes. In cause may be overconsumption or aging infrastructures, even choke point disruption or bottleneck at any oil refineries. There are many various causes when it comes to the global energy crisis. It would be easy to point a finger at any one or any industry and lay out the blame for their entire energy crisis at their doorstep. But that would be a very naive and unrealistic interpretation of the cause of this crisis. There are several points when it comes to energy crisis. So the first one is the overconsumption of energy, which means the energy crisis is a result of many different strain on our natural energy sources or natural resources. Not just one. There's a strain on fossil fuel, as we know, such as oil, gas, coal, due to the overconsumption, which then run, or in turn, it can be put a strain on our water reservoirs, oxygen resources by causing pollution. So the overconsumption produce more carbon dioxide, more greenhouse gases. So definitely it's going to be pollute our water system or our atmosphere. And the next one is the overpopulation. So another cause of this crisis has been a steady increasing in world population. If you may believe that, it demands for fuel and products. No matter what type of food or what type of product you choose to use, from fair trade to organic, those who made from petroleum products in sweatshops, not one single of them is made or transported without a significant drain on our energy resource. The next one will be the aging infrastructures of power generating equipment, which is yet another reason for the energy shortage. Most of the energy producing firms keep on using outdated equipment that restrict the production of energy. It is the responsibility of utilities to keep it is the responsibility of these utilities to keep upgrading the infrastructure and set a high standard of performance. And the next one is the renewable energy. So the renewable energy still remain unused in most countries. The most of the energy comes from non-renewable energy sources like coal, even in Sri Lanka. It still remains the top choice to produce energy. Unless we give renewable energy a serious thought, the problem of energy crisis cannot be solved. Renewable energy source can be reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and also keep to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. The next one is that in a few countries, there is a significant delay in commissioning new power plants that can be fill the gap between the demand and supply of energy. The result is that the old plants come under huge stress to meet the daily demand of power. When the supply doesn't match with the demand, it results in load shedding and break down the power plants. The next point will be the most important point because the most part of the world, people do not realize the importance of conserving energy. It is only limited to books, to the internet, newspapers, and seminars. Unless we give a serious thought about that things are not going to change anything sooner. Simple thing like switching off fans, lights when they are not in use, using maximum daylight, walking instead of driving for a shorter distance, using CFL or high efficient LEDs instead of traditional bulbs, proper insulation in leakages of energy can go a long way in saving energy. So the next point will be the poor distribution. So when it comes to the poor distribution system, so there is always energy loss. And there are some miscellaneous factors as well when it comes to a energy crisis. Tax hikes, strikes, military coups, political events can cause a sudden increase in demand for energy. And it also can choke the supply. So a strike by unions in an oil producing or oil refining firm, such as Sipetco in Sri Lanka, can definitely cause an energy crisis to the country. So those are the things when it comes to the energy crisis. So whenever there's an energy crisis, these factors will come to play. And next thing that we are going to talk about, the Sri Lankan context. Context about the energy usage. First, we will talk about the population distribution in Sri Lanka. So this is the population distribution in Sri Lanka. In here, one dot indicates 800 people in the left hand side figure. By the inside, we can say that the most dense area is the Western province. There are several reasons for that. The first one may be that the capital, economic capital is situated in this area, the transportation facilities, accessibilities for the different services and advanced structures, and there are many more. Even the job market is based on Western province. So that is the huge impact when it comes to the high dense populated area in order to cost. And also, according to the gender population, 48% will be males, while 52% will be females, which can be seen from the right-hand side figure. So now we are going to look at these figures. So how much we are depending on fossil fuels. So if you look at this figure, we can see that as a country, we are heavily rely on fossil fuels than our renewable energies. If you closely look at the figure and the values, you can see that every year the usage of fossil fuel has been increased as a trend. So if I summarize, so the crude oil consumption, you can see that it has been increased over years, the usage of crude oil consumption. And it has been dramatically increased in the recent years as well. And this is the Sri Lanka coal consumption. So we can see that Sri Lanka has begun to use coal in 2003, and it has been rapidly increased in 2011 due to the commissioning of Lakvijaya power plant in Orochola. And it has been triple the consumption by 2015 after completing all 3 stages of the power plant. And if you look at the Sri Lanka electricity generation, so we can see that almost 75% of electricity in Sri Lanka is generated by thermal power plants. So almost more than 50% is going to be produced by the thermal coal, which is the Lakvijaya power plant, and there will be almost 25% will be generated by thermal oil. There are several complexes. For an example, we have Kelmitissa, which is a combined power plant using diesel. So what happened to our hydropower plants? That's our question. What happened? The Sri Lanka's largest hydropower plant is Victoria Power Plant, which can provide 210 megawatt in capacity. But Victoria Power Plant was designed to irrigate 365,000 hectares of land and provide 600 megawatts of electricity. Still, this power plant is running at a capacity of 42.4%. This power plant is not running at its design capacity. So why is that? Because of the rapid deforestation and the lack of rainfall, and the precipitation in the catchment area has dropped its lowest threshold. If we talk about the deforestation is one of the most serious environmental issues in Sri Lanka. In the 1920s, the island had 49% forest cover, but by 2005, it has fallen approximately 26%. Between 1990 to 2000, the Sri Lanka lost an average of 26,800 hectares of forest per year. This is almost to an average annual deforestation rate of 1.14%. Between 2000 to 2005, the rate has been accelerated to 1.43% per annum. And the next will be the Sri Lanka's environment. So if we talk about the Sri Lanka's environment, we can see that our water pollution has been increased to 958%, according to the BOD. BOD means biochemical oxygen demand. So what happened to our drinking water right now? So the carbon dioxide emission, 18,394 kilotons per year. And the CO2 emission per capita per one person, it almost 900 kilograms. So, and the bird species which is threatened right now, it is 16. And the mammal species, and the number of 30 species has been threatened. And 57 species from fish species. And when it comes to the plants, the value will be 297. So what happened to Sri Lanka? What happened to Sri Lanka? And when it comes to the electricity consumption, around 112 billions of kilowatt is consumption, while 585 kilowatt per hour is using per capita as an average. Still, this amount is very low when it compared to the developed country. But the problem is we are using thermal power plants to generate this. And if I give you an insight about the renewable energies in Sri Lanka. So this is the usage of renewable energies of Sri Lanka. As we can see that it has a negative trend along with the years. The majority of these renewable energies coming from hydropower plants or hydropower. As a country, still we are lacking in using wind power, oceanic energy conversion, oceanic thermal energy conversion, geothermal, and solar power. But there's a doubt of using solar PV panels as a renewable energy because the net carbon emission is high. But if you use solar heat collectors to run a power plant, it would be much more eco-friendly. So what will happen to Sri Lanka? So fortunately, we can save Sri Lanka through a sustainable energy usage. And when it comes to sustainability, which means the focus on meeting needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their needs. In the concept of sustainability, it composed with three pillars: economic, environmental, and social. Also known as informally as the profit, planet, and people. So luckily, Sri Lanka became a party to the Paris Accord of 2016, an agreement within the United Nations Framework Convention in climate change. So dealing with the greenhouse emission, mitigation, adaptation, and finance on September 21st, 2016, which is a very good step in order to save Sri Lanka and the world. So next, we will talk about the do we need to save trees? After all above information, why do we need to save trees? that needs to be answered. So I will start with some questions. Don't we need to breathe? Don't we need to drink? Don't we need to eat? We do know that every green plant actively participates in the process of photosynthesis. If we do not save trees, our water cycle, our food webs, and our carbon cycle will come to an end. Why? In order to save and preserve fountains, we need trees. Every food chain and every food web are starting from a tree. And photosynthesis is the only process that removes the CO2 or carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And it also helps to maintain the global warming. So then we will come to our final slide. What do we need to do? As citizens, most importantly, as human beings, we need to address this issue and take countermeasures to overcome this problem as individuals. So how we can actively participate and take countermeasures to avoid an energy crisis and have a sustainable energy usage. There are some few points. The first and foremost, we need to conserve energy. There's no question about that. As the next step, we should apply the 3R concept for usage of polythene and plastic products. What is 3R concept? It means the reduce, reuse, and recycle. And then we need to switch to natural energy sources like optimizing maximum daylight and walking instead of using vehicle for shorter distance. And as the earlier step, we need to switch to our renewable energy sources like wind, OEC, ocean energy conversion, OTEC, ocean thermal energy conversion, and the geothermal, and improve our hydropower plants. Then we need to apply a proper waste management system to our country and introduce waste to energy concept for solid waste. Last but not least, we have to have a self-control and self-discipline when it comes to dumping waste to our environment. So that would be all, guys. I hope you have gained something from this session. And I would like to hand over this session back to Devin.
Thank you very much, Gita sir. So now we are having our question and answer session. So if you guys have any questions, now it's time to ask. You can unmute your microphone and you can tell, or else you can put in a chat box. Please, if you want to ask, just unmute your microphone and you can ask. And guys, we have another less than 1 minute. So if this link close, just join to the same link that we send you guys. So just keep that in mind.